Hello, Twisted Humans. Do you find yourself wanting to know more about the latest murder, conspiracy, cult, or haunting?
Then this is the podcast for you. I'm Alecia.
And I'm Sierra, and this is Twisted and Uncorked.
Hello and welcome to episode 111, part 1. It is serial killer time. And this week we are jumping down the rabbit hole of a lesser known serial killer from the UK, aka the Teacup Poisoner. And this is a listener suggestion from Erin, so thank you so much, Erin, for listening and requesting this story. But before we get into that, Sierra, do you have a fun fact for me?
I do. So the last episode, when Amanda was on, I struggled to find a fun fact that I knew I saved in my phone.
Did you finally find it?
I finally found it, and I almost didn't. I just struggled again finding it. But I found it, and it's not even that crazy, but it is still fun.
You know what? It's the hunt that made it all worth it. Tell it to me.
Speaking of the hunt.
Oh, shit.
If you have a Jeep, Wrangler mostly, but some other ones too. A lot of people will already know this. If you don't have a Jeep, you might not know this. They put what they call Easter eggs on a lot of the Jeeps. So you'll find a random thing on your Jeep that's not on all Jeeps. Sometimes it'll be a sandal is printed on the window, or it'll be like really, really small. It'll be
what?
Underneath of your floorboard. There's like engraved in the metal, like a picture of a Jeep crawling up a mountain. Like they put random
is
quote,
this
Easter
just
eggs.
The staff at Jeep that like to fuck with you, or is this like a corporate thing, or what's happening?
I think this was I think in the beginning it was just a fuck with you thing, and then people started realizing it, and they were like, we have to do this to everything. It is a seller.
That's awesome.
Some people go to car lots and they'll buy a Jeep that has a specific Easter egg on it. Like they love it.
What? Does your Jeep have an Easter egg?
I actually don't know. My Jeep is really old. I don't know when they started doing it. I have to look it up. And I always forget that they do this. Like, I see it on the internet all the time because I'm in a bunch of Jeep clubs on Facebook. But
yeah,
I always forget to look, and I need to. But I learned that one of the Easter eggs, I don't know if it's considered an Easter egg because it might be in all Jeeps. Or it might just be this one that I found. But one of the Easter eggs that I found is that there is a footrest. You know, you're on the right, that's a left. On the left side of your car.
Yes.
If you're in the driver's seat, where the clutch would be. If there's no clutch, because you're in a automatic, there's like a footrest right there.
Yeah.
Well, on this specific footrest, it looks like this. Just some dots and some lines. It looks like a normal footrest. That's a place where you would put your foot so it doesn't slip.
Okay.
Those dots and lines are actually Morse code. And it says
Yes.
sand, snow, rivers, rocks.
I love it.
Isn't that so cool?
Yes. Don't forget to send me that photo. That's fun. So we can share it with the people.
Yeah.
I love that. That is fun. Now I want to buy a Jeep just to see what my
Right?
Easter egg would be. But then how do you know? Like, do you have to hunt for it?
Yes.
Will it
That's
tell
why it's
you?
called an Easter egg. It's a
But
hunt.
how would they have gotten that? Like, how would you know? Look at that and go, I know Morse code.
I don't know. I don't know about that one. I have no fucking idea. Because I wouldn't have.
Right?
I mean, maybe I would see it and be like, I've seen other Jeeps, and other Jeeps don't have this. Maybe I should take a picture and find out what this is. I don't know.
Interesting.
I'm sorry. I'm going to show you a couple more Easter eggs. This is someone's windshield. A little tiny Jeep driving up the windshield.
This is the greatest fun fact of all time.
This is
If
on
you guys
someone's-
are Jeep people, please write in your Easter eggs if you find them.
Yes. This is on someone's wheel, like on the rim, on the inside. Just a little picture of a Jeep.
I am obsessed.
Some people's inside of the fuel tank. says "Ciao, baby." Some of them have flip-flops, like I said earlier. One of them has Nessie swimming across the back windshield.
I want that one.
Yeah. Some vehicles have 419 engraved on them, which is a Ohio area code where they were manufactured.
Okay.
The Jeep logo underneath the mesh fabric on the seat covers. Like, just random little things in random little places.
Like, how do people find them? I have questions, guys. Send them
there's
in, please.
Sasquatch.
Oh, I like that one too. I'd accept the Nessie or the Sasquatch.
Right? On the back windshield as well. A Moab trail map on the inside of your glove compartment.
Yes.
Like, the most random things in the most random places. Anyway.
I have two
so
questions. Fun. One, if any of you have found this on your Jeeps, we want to know about it. Send them in.
Send us pictures.
Yes, please. And then two, if you work for Jeep, I have questions about how you decide what they're going to be and where you decide where they're going to be. So
yeah,
write in either way. I have questions.
So fun.
I need a Jeep now.
Easter eggs. What's your fun fact?
I have two fun facts. Kevin pinched my elbow while we were sitting on the bed earlier before we started recording. And
there's one of them.
Apparently the skin on your elbow, like, just
your
directly below. Yeah, apparently there's no pain receptors there, so if you pinch it really hard, it doesn't hurt. He was like pinching me, and I'm like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And he's like, "You can't feel it. Don't even."
You can feel it if you use your fingernails, a tiny bit.
Yeah, but not as much as you would anywhere else. Weird. Right? But that was not my original fun fact. My original fun fact was related to our story today, and it's about tea.
Give me the tea.
Specifically, tea comes from the leaves of the camellia plant, and everything else, like a herb, like mint tea, or fruit tea, like raspberry tea, and so on, is actually an infusion. And there are 3,000 different types of tea.
An infusion of the plant or like added after?
An infusion of the plant, like with the herb or whatever.
Oh.
That is the tea for you. Which I thought was super interesting because I am a tea drinker myself. I also apologize in advance. It's allergy season and I'm currently dying. So that's where we're at. And to get through allergy season and dying, much like all qualms in my life, I drink wine. I am drinking alone, as per usual, but I saw on Sierra's side table picture that she had something fun going on. We're going to find out. But today we are drinking the most recent box of wine to make an appearance in my fridge for the month, Jackson Triggs Riesling Gewürztraminer. And it has floral aromas complemented by flavors of juicy apple, crisp lemon, and a hint of spice. It is a British Columbia, Canada wine, so local to me. And it is 12.5% ABV. It's a super summery wine. I'm digging it. And the only reason I bought it over my usual Bodacious is because it was $3 cheaper for the box. Gotta save money where you can.
Yep.
I'm definitely gonna give it a 9.5. It's up there with one of my new favorites.
Yum.
What are you drinking? What is this red concoction?
This is just my protein water. It's cherry flavored and it's really good.
Cherry, interesting.
I put it in a glass so that
it's like fancy. Little. She's drinking it out of like a brandy glass. It's cute. Mm-hmm. Speaking of Sierra's protein water, if any of you were also wondering the same thing, I called her out on this. So on one episode, I forget what episode it was, she took a hard stance on mangoes. And I was sitting at work and I was like, the mango peach protein water is your favorite, but you think mangoes taste like armpits. What the fuck? This is a random text message out of the blue, like weeks later. She's used to it, as this is the brain she lives with.
Fruit And fruit flavors are very different.
It is true. I agree with that.
The mango fruit, if you cut it up and try to take a bite of it, it's gonna taste like armpit smell. That's what it tastes like. But same for if you blend it in a drink with no other flavor, like an actual peach. Mango. If you put it into a blender and blend it into a smoothie with no other flavor added to
Why
it.
would you do that? Serial killer behavior.
I mean, like, if you wanted a a mango smoothie, they're
You
gross.
put something
They're
else in it.
fucking
You wouldn't
nasty.
just blend up a mango.
No, I mean no other fruit, no other flavor.
Like you're putting nothing else in it. This feels like a waste of time.
No, you can put like juice or whatever, however you make your smoothie. But if you put no other flavor in it, it tastes like armpit smell. It's gross. But the mango flavored candy or mango flavored juice or mango flavored protein water doesn't taste like mango. It tastes like mango flavoring.
Because berries are my favorite fruit, but artificial berries like the White Claw flavors are my least favorite. So
Yeah.
that checks out.
Yeah,
I
I
just
like
wanted to make
bananas
fun of
the
you.
fruit, but I don't so much like banana flavored stuff.
Oh, yeah.
gross.
Like that cough syrup that we used to take in the 90s. What was that? It tasted like bananas. That was
I
horrible.
did not have this.
Oh,
The one
you're
I
lucky.
had in the 90s was pink and it tasted like bubble gum.
Oh,
And
I
I
had that
always
one
wanted
too.
it. So good.
You're like, I'm not. I have a cold, Mom.
Yeah. I think it wasn't even for cold. It was like an antibiotic. What is that stuff called? I know what it's called and I can't think of it.
Are we drinking any Quit Your Whining in there? Or is
No, I
it
didn't put
floaty
any
free
in there.
today?
Floaty free today. I'm actually attempting to eat dinner.
Oh.
This is my
What?
dinner.
That is your dinner? I thought that was your dessert when I saw that photo.
I snack all day. Like,
Yeah.
little tiny snacks instead of big meals. And so this is my biggest meal of the day. It's
And
really
what
hard
is
to eat 'cause
it?
I'm full. It's
It looks
a
like chocolate cake.
chocolate muffin
Okay.
that's made with carrots and
Zucchini?
zucchini. Yes, thank you.
Yum.
It's really good, but it's so hard to eat because I'm full. I have a lot of proteiny snacks and I'm scared they'll go bad if I don't eat them in time.
Fair. I have not been doing as well on my little high carb, low carb cycling thing. I've been doing well eating wise, except for tonight we had Burger King. But
Burger King?
we got coupons
Yesterday-
in the mail and I didn't want to cook today.
Yesterday, I took the girls, all the way to Florida. Mm-hmm. And on the way home, they were starving, and I was starving. And they wanted McDonald's, so I tried to eat
Of course, because
McChicken,
Sissy
and I was
never
like,
wants anything else.
the whole way home, after eating a McChicken, I was dying. Like, my stomach hurt. I felt like I was going to throw up. Sissy kept burping in the back, making nasty noises, and I was like,
So not
I'm literally
helping your
gonna
stomach.
pull over and throw up if you don't stop. Like, my stomach does not feel good, and that's disgusting.
Is it because you haven't
Please
eaten
stop.
fast food in so long?
Yeah, and I mean, that's just kind of what this stuff does, is it gives you an aversion to certain things,
Okay. I mean, I love you, but you're still going to take me to Taco Bell.
Yeah. I
I need to get
had-
my week's fix.
One of my protein snacks today was a bag of chips, Quest protein chips, that were flavored like a loaded taco. And somehow it actually tasted like a crunchy taco. It was so weird. So weird.
What? Okay,
Yeah,
well,
like
we're going
I
to
could
need to try
taste the
those.
meat flavor and everything. Just weird.
When you're talking about chips, that's foul, but
Yeah.
I am in for the most part.
Speaking of meat flavor, I don't think I ate a single bit of meat today now that I think about it. I didn't.
Good for you.
I had a vegetarian day.
Meat-free day. Fuck yeah.
Yes.
That's
crazy.
good. I've been eating a lot of hummus and veggies and sandwiches with turkey and veggies.
I bought, Beyond Meat recently just to try it, and it's really good. I had
It is really good.
spicy chicken patty today. Spicy
Beyond
not
Meat
chicken patty.
burgers at A&W are one of my favorites.
I did not know they had non-meat
Yeah.
burgers.
Oh yeah,
there.
they're really good.
A&W's chili cheese fries are the only thing I ate the whole time I was pregnant with Sissy in Bahrain. They had an A&W
Does she like chili cheese fries from A&W?
We don't have...
Interesting.
A&W is, like, few and far between in America. At least
really?
on the East Coast.
What?
Yeah, I only know where one is, and it's, like, on my ride from here to Cincinnati, like, somewhere in Kentucky or something. A random spot that I drive past when I take long trips.
That will be our snack. Some
It
chili
is
cheese.
not anywhere near Cincinnati.
Oh.
I
thought you were meaning, like, your
somewhere
drive
along
there.
the route.
Okay.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we've been talking a lot about our health goals on Patreon, and not about ourselves necessarily, but go and check that out. It's lots of fun. We've got lots of fun content over there, and book club, because we talk about books constantly, so we had to put a place for it. But we are going to tell you about a serial killer today. And before we get to that, we are going to take a quick break to hear a promo from our friends Caitlin and Cassie at Pacific Northwest Haunts and Homicides. And be right back. Okay, so we are going to jump right in here. On September 10th, 1947, Graham Frederick Young was born to parents Fred and Margaret, who preferred to go by Molly. Tragically, though, Molly developed... Oh, fuck. I googled how to say this, and then I didn't write it phonetically.
Molly is a strange nickname for Margaret.
I know.
You would think like Maggie. Margie.
Right?
Molly? Okay. Whatever you want.
So, Molly developed pleurisy when she was pregnant, and this causes inflammation in your pleura, the lining around your lungs. And without any modern medicine and readily available antibiotics, this turned into tuberculosis for Molly.
Pleura. That's a weird thing.
Right? I've never heard it either, but I learned something new. I actually learned a few new things while reading the book that I read primarily for the notes is called The Teacup Poisoner by Fergus Mason. I learned a lot about the UK. But, and about medical stuff. So, there we go. And we know that tuberculosis is no good. And for Molly, she died just 3 months after the birth of Graham, leaving behind her husband, her son, and their 8-year-old daughter, Winifred.
Oh, no.
Which Winifred is a really cute name.
That's the name of one of the Sanderson sisters.
Yes, it is. I put a spell on you. I just did that randomly at work the other day. Like, I was just singing it, and my coworker turned around and was like, what the fuck? Listen, sometimes when you're really bored, your brain goes to places. So, Fred was young and had no business taking care of 2 young kids alone. He was trying to work as much as possible to provide for them, and they spent most of those early years living with relatives. Graham went to live with their Aunt Winnie and Uncle Jack, and Winifred went to live with her grandmother. Graham bonded with his aunt and uncle and adjusted well to his new life. He lived in a good neighborhood, it was family-oriented with lots of parks, and because he was so young, he didn't really sense the absence of his parents. But when Graham was 2.5, his dad remarried a woman, also named Molly, and invited his kids into the home he always wanted them to have, with a mom to care for them. But this was obviously hard for Graham, having spent those early years with his aunt and uncle and building that bond. It is interesting. I've known one other person that has not been with their original partner and married somebody else with the same partner other than this story. So it's a rare thing. It's not really like you can seek it out. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of Kevins out there that suck.
Yeah.
When Graham started school, he didn't really fit in well at Brandcroft Junior School. And I learned that in Britain, when kids are around 11 years old, they take an exam called 11 Plus that decides which high school you're going to be attending. Modern schools teaches you basic skills, and about 25% make it to grammar school that focuses more on academics. Graham just barely made it into the grammar club and took a particular interest in chemistry.
That's random.
In fact, though, chemistry was really only the subject he ever did well in. What started with him brewing seamlessly harmless concoctions with his stepmother's perfumes and nail polishes would soon turn into a deadly habit.
Oh.
He learned common household medications and what they did, and would educate his family often on their uses and side effects. But he also developed an interest in abusing and dismembering animals. Intro to Serial Killers, Part 1.
Yeah.
Dead frogs started turning up around the house, and his family thought that maybe there was something in the water in the area, or maybe something out in the gardens. They never could have suspected that they too would become mysteriously ill like these frogs had.
Oh gosh.
In addition to his love of chemistry, Graham also developed a fascination and admiration of the one and only Adolf Hitler. He thought of him as being misunderstood.
You know what's really funny?
Interesting segue, but yes.
I'm reading a book right now called The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires.
Yes, on my list.
And there's a kid in this book who is obsessed with Hitler.
Oh, goodness.
And the mom is like freaking out, like,
yeah.
Okay, this is weird.
It's weird, yeah. And to think of him as being misunderstood. When
he said that, sorry, in the book,
ahead.
the kid says that Hitler isn't the real bad guy. There was a different guy named Hessler.
Oh.
Who was feeding him these ideas. Hitler was just the one implementing them.
Well, I mean, just as guilty in my opinion. It's kind of like when you're not 100%. The one to pull the trigger and you're, hey, you should kill this person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But interesting take. I need to know more about this part of history that I was not aware of.
Right.
And when Graham expressed these ideas in class, he was punished. Discipline in schools in Britain during this time were quite strict, with punishments coming in the form of lashes to the palm with a belt, cane, or ruler. But I mean, if you're going to admire Hitler, kind of necessary. He was a quiet kid and chose to spend most of his time alone. Any potential friend that he could have possibly made, he scared off with his love of Hitler. Weird.
Anyone who loves Hitler should, like, be on a list of this person might kill somebody one day.
Right? They're just, like, flagged in the system as keep an eye on this one.
All systems.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But keep in mind, this was also very close after World War II, and many of his classmates' parents had fought in the war themselves, or had been very affected by the food rationing and poverty that it caused. So it was a touchy suspect. A touchy subject. He's a touchy suspect.
He is.
Graham also claimed to be a Wiccan and a Satanist, but he was in fact the opposite.
Two different things.
Yeah, I know, right? Wiccans typically are devoted to nature, and true Satanists would never practice animal sacrifice like he did with his experiments. He had upgraded from frogs to neighborhood cats at this point.
He's one of those Israel Keys version of Satanists.
Yeah, exactly. In addition to Hitler, another hero of his was Dr. Crippen, a.k.a. the Rugly Poisoner. Dr. Holly... I know, he's got some questionable here.
Point to this guy as a serial killer.
But it was the 1950s in Britain of it all. They were just like, yeah, this is fine. This is something he's going to grow out of. This is, like, it's just all interesting to speculate on as we get through his childhood, but definitely a red flag.
Yeah, so many. It's like fucking 6 Flags in here.
But Dr. Holly Harvey Crippen was a homeopathic doctor born in 1862. He and his wife Cora threw a party in their home in January of 1910, but no one ever saw his wife again after this.
Well,
He started wearing her jewels and her clothing and told friends and family that she had moved back to the U.S. where she was originally from.
who is her husband?
Dr. Crippen, Graham's hero.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
little sidebar here.
I was gonna say that I love the name Cora. Now it's just really sad.
I know, because things don't go well for Cora. Police would find a shallow grave in his house in the basement with a decaying human torso, many bones having been removed, and even the best doctors couldn't tell at this point, because it's the 1800s, or I guess early 1900s at this point, but if the partial remains were either male or female. A big-time pathologist named Dr. Spilsbury found a scar on the abdomen, so faint but cohesive with Cora's appendectomy scar. He was also the same doctor to inspect a few of Jack the Ripper's victims, so he had some notoriety in the pathologist era.
Yeah.
Dr. Crippen tried to escape to Canada, but was brought back to be hung on November 23rd, 1910, but instead died prior to this by poisoning himself in his jail cell. It's not as much the fact that he's a murderer that likely drew Graham in, or even the fact that he was interested in poisons himself, but probably that it led to him reading about Dr. Spilsbury, the pathologist. There were a lot of people during this time that became extremely sick or died after eating or drinking foods in the midst of a spat with coworkers, lovers, having been poisoned, or even just day-to-day uses of some of the chemicals back then. So he was extra interested in how these people died. Up until 1972, acquiring potions in the UK... Okay, we're not in Hogwarts, Alecia, sadly. Up until 1972, acquiring poisons in the UK wasn't all that hard. Uses were very common, like strychnine as rat poison, or arsenic being used to control weeds and insects. These poisons were also useful in making it look like people died of common illnesses that happened, or by accident, like I said, because these were readily used. Doctors began inspecting patients when they died unexpectedly for arsenic poisoning because it happened so often. Weird that it took this long for us to just stop using that, but whatever. Like, oh, weird, maybe this should not come in contact with humans. In February of 1961, Molly started to suffer bouts of a mystery illness, where she would get nauseous and suffer from stomach pains or diarrhea, and they were becoming excruciating. That summer, Graham's sister Winifred, now 22 at the time, started getting sick as well. Graham even got sick a few times himself. This mystery illness didn't seem to just be confined to the young home, though, but to Graham's school as well. And people started to think that something was just going around. Was the chatter among parents. A friend and classmate of Graham's named Christopher Williams suffered debilitating stomach cramps and headaches. These attacks would come at awfully convenient times, though, like when he went out with a girl in their class that Graham also liked.
Oh, God.
Because they were friends, sometimes they would swap sandwiches at lunch. And because of this, his classmates nicknamed him the Mad Professor, believing that it must have been Graham that poisoned him. He also did very disturbing drawings that people weren't too jazzed about, like with bodies hanging and syringes marked poison.
Okay. I don't understand why all these kids are calling him the Mad Professor, saying he probably poisoned something, and the parents are just like, oh, his poison drawings are so cute. Like, dude, listen to your children.
Yep. It's the 1900s of it all, I tell ya. I know, this case is actually, like, really weird in the sense that, like, now we're at, like, 13 red flags, and people are still ignoring it. His father, Fred, was growing more suspicious of the illnesses happening at home as well. In November of 1961, Graham made a cup of tea for his sister before she went to work. She had one sip, and it was so bitter that she had to dump it out. An hour later, she started hallucinating on the train to work and had to be helped off the train and taken to the hospital. The doctors diagnosed it as belladonna poisoning, also known as deadly nightshade, and 5 berries of the plant or 1 leaf contain enough poison to kill the average adult.
That's crazy.
Winifred's poisoning, of course, also made Fred think of his son's chemistry obsession. His dad had banned him from doing it inside the house after he accidentally lit the desk in his bedroom on fire, and while he suspected it, he also didn't want to believe that his son could do something like that, like any parent. Graham had been sick himself on occasion as well, so maybe he was overthinking it. Graham denied any involvement and blamed his stepmother, saying that she had used shampoos to clean the teacups on occasion and must not have rinsed it out properly.
Yeah, because shampoo has belladonna in it?
It's so weird. That's a problem.
Yeah.
It's amazing that more people didn't die from that. Fred searched through his son's stuff but found no nightshade. He warned Graham to be extremely careful with his hobby and left it at that. Like all good parents to serial killers. And this is where we're going to take a quick break. By early 1962, the mystery illnesses got worse. Molly had lost a significant amount of weight, and her hair started to fall out. She was constantly in pain and seemed to be aging right in front of her family's eyes.
Jeez.
On April 21st, 1962, Molly was completely stiff all over, with pins and needles in her neck, hands, and feet. Being a proud woman, though, she didn't want to let it get the best of her, and she tried to go about her daily duties. She went out shopping for the day, but by the evening she had collapsed while out in the garden. Fred came home from the pub and found his son standing in the kitchen watching Molly as she collapsed in pain. Graham seemed to be fascinated by her suffering. Fred rushed her to the hospital, but tragically she died later that evening.
Oh my god. He's just watching it like it's a fucking experiment.
I know. I had the mental image while I was reading that part, and I was like, horrible. This woman literally married into this family, adopted these kids as her own, and this is what she fucking gets. Molly's medical records showed that she had been getting increasingly ill for some time now. Weird. She was also involved in a bus accident the year prior and had suffered a blow to her head during the accident. Sorry. Her autopsy showed a bone at the top of her spine and her vertebrae that had slipped out of place. And that likely was caused by the accident, according to the pathologist, and ultimately was ruled as her cause of death. Molly was cremated and a funeral was planned. I even wrote in my notes, pause for Sierra's reaction.
Yeah,
Of course she was fucking cremated.
It makes me second guess wanting to be cremated, you know?
No, we want to be
really
trees
does.
now, right?
It makes me second guess not wanting to be preserved in a hunk of garbage. Make sure that when I die, I'm 800 years old first.
And that there was no
natural
suspicious cause. Yeah, definitely natural causes at that point. Yeah, so super weird. But after this, soon Fred's illnesses started to get worse. He suffered bad stomach cramps and vomiting, and it was so bad that he actually thought he was dying. He took himself to the hospital and spent weeks there, with both Graham and Winifred coming to visit him regularly. Doctors quickly diagnosed his illness as being from poisoning, and Graham was very interested in the doctor's theories, as well as talking about his father's symptoms. The poison was related to arsenic or antimony, and finally testing ruled the cause as antimony. One more dose of it and it would have killed Fred.
It really feels like the Jane Toppin story. Like, he's just testing to
I
see how far he can take it.
It totally gave me Jane Toppin vibes. If you guys did not listen to that, it was somewhere in the 70s or 80s. I'm sorry, it's been a while. It's called A Morbid Cinderella. Go listen to it. Slowly, Fred got better, but asked Winifred not to bring Graham to the hospital with her when she visited. Again, his suspicions were creeping up. Stop it. And others were starting to as well, given his fascination with chemistry and the symptoms that his experiments caused. Professor Hughes, Graham's chemistry teacher, stated that even though he was still in high school, he was performing experiments at a university level. Professor Hughes started to get nervous about the tests that Graham was doing and searched his desk. Remember those creepy drawings in elementary school I mentioned?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they continued. Dying men suspended over vats of acid. He also wrote essays and had research on various famous poisoners. But the most damning evidence of all was that his desk contained different vials of various poisons. Professor Hughes immediately brought it to the police.
It's like when people keep a diary.
I know, those are my favorite. I know, right?
I'm going to keep my evidence right here in a locker that has my name on it.
Idiot. But something about the trusting nature of serial killers allows them to get away with it for so long. They're just...
I know.
It's really a tale as old as time.
Dumb.
And it's fucking maddening. Yeah, you have to be so dumb, like running a stop sign to get caught. Mm-hmm. Not all the shit that you did before that. Not having vials of poison in your desk. Jesus Christ. The police needed to assess what kind of medical state Graham was in, though. So they set up a trap at the school. Now, 14, he was told that he needed to do a career interview at the school.
He's only 14?
Yeah, I know, right? God. You forget that the whole time, too. Terrifying! It was very common in Britain at that age, and it gets them thinking about future studies and goals. And the career advisor was really a police psychologist. And instead of discussing grades and subjects, they steered the conversation to chemistry and then to poisons. This flattered Graham, and he did not want to stop talking. He was arrested on May 23rd, 1962. When he was pulled into the station, a vial of metallic powder fell out of his jacket pocket. The substance turned out to be antimony.
And what's he gonna poison now? The fucking
he just carries it around with him like a psychopath. His pleas of innocence weren't convincing anyone, though. Interviews with his classmates revealed that Graham, in fact, hated his stepmother and carried around a voodoo doll of her sticking pins into it.
Oh my God.
He had his family fooled that he loved her. Well, maybe not Molly herself. She would find mice that had died of the various poisons that Graham left around, and a little tombstone drawing left for her, as if a warning.
Jeez.
Graham had also been using a fake ID to acquire poisons by the age of 13, convincing a local drugstore owner that he was 17 and old enough to legally buy poisons.
Why is anyone legally allowed to buy poisons? That's what I want to know.
Because it's the 1960s.
It's called poison.
Well, I mean, technically we can legally buy poisons. They're labeled with a little skull and crossbones.
They shouldn't be things.
I know.
I don't
like
care how
products,
good it
why do
cleans
they
your
need to
crap.
be poisoned?
Yeah.
Have you heard of tea tree oil? Have you heard of lemon juice? Use them. So yeah, he's legally buying poisons. And he had enough poisons stashed up to kill at least 300 people.
Oh my God.
I know. He hid most of them in a neighbor's shed. And that's the craziest part to me. Like, his neighbors just never used the shed to come out and find things like foxglove, thallium, arsenic, and his personal favorite, antimony.
Goodness.
He had first begun his experiments on his classmates, but when they got too sick, they stayed home, and he couldn't observe their symptoms or give them more doses. So he started targeting his home, where he could observe his family. He would sprinkle antimony on their food, and the only reason he got sick a couple of times is not because he was trying to be smart and cover his tracks, but because he accidentally mixed up the plates a few times. This was when it occurred to them. Graham hated Molly, and she endured the most poison. Well, a slipped vertebrae, much like what killed her, can happen in a car accident, but it can also be a very common symptom of long-term antimony poisoning.
What?
Slipped discs in your vertebrae, yeah.
That's crazy. I did not see that coming.
So Molly was cremated, like we mentioned, so they couldn't re-inspect her body. But it was also possible that Graham was just boasting about her death for the notoriety that he craved. There was only circumstantial evidence. However, they did have his confessions of the poisoning of his dad and Christopher Williams at school, and the medical report for Fred Young's recent hospital visit was antimony poisoning. It was enough for investigators. While awaiting trial for these charges, Graham would complain to the prison guards that he missed his antimony, saying that it gave him power. Yeah, I know, right? Like, that's fucked up, but you don't have little vials of it in your pocket? Like,
that reminds me of, because when you said he missed his antimony, I was thinking antimony. It reminds me of, on, what was that show with the clowns? Lynette and Molly. The Big Comfy Couch.
yes.
On the Big Comfy Couch, she had an aunt named Antecedent. And it was a play on antecedent in grammar. And she would always, like, make grammar puns. It was so fun. Anyway.
But not antimony. Not that one.
Yeah.
We don't want that
Antimony.
one. We don't want antimony. He was found guilty of attempting to murder Fred, his sister, and Christopher, and was sentenced to be confined for 15 years in a medical asylum. He was ordered to stay at one of England's 3 high-security psych hospitals, Broadmoor. It opened in 1863, and like many hospitals of its time, psych patients were often abused, and it's said to be pretty haunted to this day. Maybe we'll save it for another episode topic, but this is where we are going to end part 1 of Graham Young. Sierra will pick it back up next week.
Because he's a serial killer and he hasn't killed serial number of people yet.
You can, yeah.
So there is definitely
More than
more
2 people is
come.
considered a serial killer, but yes, he's only killed 1 person at this point. Allegedly.
Interesting.
Right? I thought this was a really awesome case because 1, it gave me Jane Toppin vibes. 2, we love an old-timey story. And 3, we haven't done a story like this since Jane Toppin and like the Bloody Benders, so.
Yeah.
It's a little fun to step out into the way back machine. So thank you, Erin, for the suggestion. Like I said, Sierra will pick it back up next week for part 2. But before we get there, do you have something happy to tell us that's not about people being poisoned?
While filming Mrs. Doubtfire, Robin Williams improvised so much of that role that there were cuts that would have made the film PG or PG-13 or R
Oh, shit.
or NC-17. Like,
I love him.
he just went all out.
I love it. He was a
Yes.
true comedian. I think I mentioned it when we've talked about Disney, maybe on Bitch and Wine, that the entire intro to Aladdin with the little like shopkeeper and the table, they literally just had a table of stuff in the studio, and Robin Williams improvised that entire thing too.
Oh my gosh.
Like it broke. Like that was all actually happening. So
that's pretty cool.
R.I.P. Robin Williams.
Yeah.
One of the greats. But that's fun. I like that. I like hearing about people's talents.
Yeah.
And if you found us talented, guys, don't forget to leave a 5-star rating and review. It's really the best way to spread the word and help others find us, and it's free. And it also makes us so happy. You can suggest cases as well, like Erin did. You can check out our Patreon, all of the bonus content that we have over there, from funnier, lighthearted segments to bonus cases like this one. And we love you. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you next Tuesday for part 2. And in the meantime, keep it twisted. Twisted and Uncorked is a proud member of Weirding Way Media. Hosted and produced by Sierra Zorn and Alecia Watson. If you like the show, don't forget to leave a 5-star rating and review wherever you are listening now. It really is the best way to spread the word. You can check out all things Twisted on our website, twistedanduncorked.com, and we will see you next Tuesday for a brand new episode.